Alright, so in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to create your file for the Shaper handheld CNC router. We're going to be using Fusion 360 and Adobe Illustrator, so make sure you have both of those downloaded. Let's open up Fusion 360 first. Once this opens up, the first thing you want to do is go to your document settings and make sure you're in inches. Do that first. You can set that as your default if you haven't already. So we're actually just going to be creating one sketch for this. So we're going to go to Create, Create Sketch, and we'll choose this XY plane for our sketch. So the material you're going to be using is a 3/4 inch 8.5 by 12.5 birch ply. So you actually want to create the outline of the stock first. So I'm just going to click here with my 2-point rectangle, and I just kind of bring it out a little bit, and then I type in my height, which is 8.5, and then I just click Tab, 12.5, and enter. And I can zoom out and see this right here. So this is what the stock will look like, but now I need to also add in my profile that I'm cutting. So your profile is what you'll actually cut out, and that will be the perimeter of your design. I'm gonna make another 2-point rectangle over here. And it's good to leave like about 1/2 inch of room in between your, like the edge of your stock and your perimeter. I'm going to click right there. And I'm going to add a fillet to my perimeter, just because I think some soft edges will be nice. And you don't have to do that, but I'm going to do that. All right, cool, so that's done. So you do need to have one outlined circle that is 3 inches in diameter, and then 3 other outlines or profiles or pockets that will actually hold real objects that you have. And you'll have to actually take a photo of this with those objects in it and prove that they fit inside of this. So I'm not going to go over in this step, picking those objects. That's totally up to you, but I would recommend coming in and using the digital calibers to measure those objects before you create this design, or like as you're creating the design, because it'll be really crucial to make sure those actually fit. And you could use a ruler, but you may just want to be a little bit more precise and use some digital calibers. Okay, so I'm going to create my circle first, and like I said, it needs to be 3 inches in diameter. I'm going to move the circle to where I want it first. Let's see, I think that's pretty good. And then I'm going to put inside of this, which you also need to do, 2.25. And we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but just know here you've got your 3-inch diameter circle with your 2.25 inner circle. And now you can start to plug in whatever other slots you want. So I'll just put some stuff in here, and whatever you want to do is totally up to you. This is pretty good for what I want right now. You're not going to add text to this Fusion file. We'll add that later. So once you're done, you can just come over here and click Finish Sketch. Then I'm going to use this navigation box up here to kind of come to a side perspective, my home perspective. And now what I want to do is just render this. I want to kind of see what is this going to look like once it's done. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on this outer edge, which is the leftover stock I'm going to have. And I'm going to use the hotkey E for extrude. And then it's asking me right here, well, how much do I want to extrude? So remember, this stock is 0.75. So 0.75, and this is a new body. Press OK. All right, where did my sketch go? So if I come over here to sketches and unhide my sketches, there they are. Now I'm going to make another body. So extrude 0.75 and new body. Okay, and then I've got these over here, and I'm going to extrude, let's see if I can click on that one. I'm going to extrude all of these to 0.25. And join. So I'm not creating a new body here, I'm just joining. And then this one, I actually want this one, my inner circle, to be 0.75 as well. Cool, and join. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Let's see if we can figure out how to actually like render this a little bit though. So over here, I'm gonna go to render, and it may freak out a little bit, and that's okay. And I've got two bodies, remember? So I'm gonna hide my outer body, which is the stock that's like leftover scrap, and I'm just gonna render this because this is actually what it's going to look like. So I can go to appearance, and I can go to wood, and there's some different options here. So this is, you're actually gonna be cutting birch. And something that may look similar to birch would be these other woods, but it also depends on like if you want to stain this, because we do have a little bit of stain capability in the lab. I used just a Danish oil on mine, but you could, you know, do something different. But let's just say this is going to be cherry. I'm just going to drag it over, and now it's kind of like emulating that cherry look. Okay, and then I can come over here and I can hide my sketches, and this is just like a nice way to kind of imagine what this is going to look like, and this would be great for you to take a screenshot of for your website. Now what we're going to do is show our sketches. We can hide these bodies, and we want to export this as a DXF. So we'll go up here. You need to save it first. And then you're going to go to File, Export, DXF. All right, and just wait for that to happen. And interestingly enough, the new version of Adobe Illustrator no longer supports the importing of DXFs. So what I recommend you do is either figure out that problem, which I just realized very recently because my computer only recently updated to the new Adobe Illustrator, so it had been working perfectly for me. So the only workaround I have found thus far is just doing a DXF to Adobe Illustrator file converter, which I don't love. But for now, until I figure something else out, that's what you can do too. So find your file. Mine is in downloads, and convert it. Download that and open in Illustrator. Okay, so the first thing you notice is it's super, super small. So click on it by pressing Command A, and over here, you want this to be highlighted. This means it's going to maintain your proportions. So if you'll remember, our width is 12.5, and now it's just like automatically going to get the rest done. You will learn Adobe Illustrator later, but for our purposes for this week, I'm just going to show you a few quick things. Number one, this is your selection tool, the black arrow. So if you want to move an entire object, you're going to click on it. And none of this is grouped, so it's all individual right now. It's going to act that way. So first thing that we should do is select everything. You can drag to select, or you can press Control A or Command A and bring it down to this white canvas area. Now we need to make our canvas larger because this doesn't fit right now. So go over here to Artboard Tool and just drag. and make it bigger. Cool. That's all you need to do there. Next thing we'll do is just delete our outer perimeter and this little box over here, and just click on each of those and press delete. Now we're going to go back to the internet and look up Shaper Origin Settings Illustrator. And you should find something that says like using the template like this. So it's really interesting. Shaper does toolpath creation via colors and stroke, which we see in other softwares and other machines. And like their workflow often does have to do with color and stroke. So that's what the Shaper does too for Illustrator files. So you're just going to copy this. Copy image, go over to Illustrator, paste it, and like scoot it over here. So each of these colors and each of these strokes mean something different. So interior cut versus exterior cut, this is really important because if you have a line and you cut on the inside versus the outside, that changes your dimensions. Online cut, also the same thing. A pocketing cut is super interesting, and it's basically going to cut a pocket for the entire shape that you set to this color. I will say with a pocket cut, I don't recommend doing a ton of pocket cuts because you are controlling this CNC router yourself. And when I did my pocket cuts, this whole thing took me about 2 hours, and it's a little bit of an upper body workout. And so you may not want to do like a ton of pocket cuts. Just your profile cut could take you like 20 minutes. So just like think about that and be like, oh, how long do I want to be standing here for? But then again, you may not be able to get around it. So, okay, so you may need to click on each of these individual lines. So you may need to zoom in a little bit for that. And let's increase the stroke weight. And I grouped it by right-clicking and pressing group. Okay, so this looks pretty good. We've got this interior cut going. When you actually go to the Shaper, this is going to be an exterior cut, but it'll work, just trust me. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is actually delete the center circle, and we're going to change this to black. And so the way you can do that is actually by going over here, there's the fill, and then there's the stroke. So just swap these around, and now you have this whole circle being black. And that's because we really care about these dimensions, and we want to cut on the outside of the circle so that we have the 3-inch diameter that we're looking for. So each of these shapes is going to be a pocket cut. So one thing you may need to do, if you like try and make this gray right now, it's not going to really work. So you may need to right-click join, and now it'll turn gray. So same thing for this one, select it, right-click join, then come over here to your eyedropper, grab the gray, same thing here. Right-click join, grab the gray. Okay, longer. So now you want to do your text. So on mine, I actually did a longer string of text, but you can do just your initials if you want to, but you should have a minimum of 3 characters. So I'm just going to write my initials here, and you ideally need these to be like pretty large, and you want to add a space in between, especially if you're just doing 3 letters. And then you can come over here and choose your font. And then you want to create an outline here. So I just go to the Help tab, but you can also just like right-click here and you can do Create Outline. So now this changed it from text that you would need a font to be able to read to an actual vector file. And so now we can't like change it anymore. So notice I'm highlighting my text, but like there's nothing over here. Okay, so then we want this to be pocket, so then just click right there. Okay, now you can delete this. So the next thing you want to do is make sure that the shaper USB is inserted. And so like you can bring in your file and then just do this part once you get to the lab. But you'll do File, Save As, SVG, and you're going to save it to the shaper USB. Save. Okay. And now you should be good to go. Make sure you reserve your time on the shaper, and as always, email me with questions or message me on WhatsApp.